Hello everyone, welcome back to part 11 of Let's Play Code Lyoko Quest for Infinity on the PlayStation 2. And, yeah, I'm sure you're kind of disappointed to see that this isn't really going to be any more interesting than the last video, but I just decided I didn't really want to bother making an intro for this one yet. I'll make one for the next video and probably the remainder, but I just kind of been slow in getting to all the different things I want to be doing right now. And, well, let's talk about the game now. Here's one of the encounters that you have at Caddick where someone gives you one of the various extra items, like the goodies that you can find through stages, the little floating card pictures of Aelita that are floating around there. Yeah, sometimes people at Caddick will give you those. I'm not entirely sure why they really felt that necessary, but it adds a lot to the game, really, because, you know, it actually gives you a reason to go talking to everybody at Caddick other than for just story. So, yeah, you get two gifts here. One from fake Jeremie and one from Jim.
What's wrong, Jeremie? I've discovered something really bad. What is it? I should have seen it earlier. Each replica is linked to a supercomputer hidden on Earth.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means that to destroy a replica, you have to destroy its supercomputer. You mean the supercomputers of the replica that we already destroyed are still working? Yes.
Oh no, who could have seen that coming?
Have you got a solution? Maybe.
Oh wait, I think I did at least twice. Oh well. So apparently, after realizing this, he, I guess, immediately slapped together the translation program. Then again, a completely undetermined period of time passes between each of these different missions, so we don't really know how long he's had to work on it.
How do we find the supercomputers for the replicas we've already destroyed? I thought about that too. I'll have to launch a deep scan of the network.
Deep scan.
To find the coordinates of the desert and ice replica supercomputers.
So, effectively, so he needs to scan the network while we go take out the mountain replica, which is the only other one we know the main tower of.
And XANA will use it to attack. You'll have to stand guard
Wait,
while I launch the program.
has anybody else noticed that the script for the subtitles and the script for what they're saying are completely different? And here's the other fun fact. While listening to the French script, it becomes obvious that that is a completely different script from the subtitles as well, or at least from the English subtitle. So, it's kind of weird how that all works out. I'm not entirely sure how that happened, or why that happened that way. And I had intended to cut this part out, but I made an error here. But yeah, this is the actual stage select screen, because you won't see it again. So, here I just pick up a bunch of upgrades. And for some reason, despite the fact that we haven't actually gotten telekinesis yet, I could upgrade it already. And that's the only power you can do that with in the whole game. You can upgrade her telekinesis power after you've gotten Odd's time control. Which doesn't really make any sense, but moving on.
I can see William on the radar. He's getting closer. Prepare to
It's
attack.
time for another fight with William. So this time we have a lot of enemies that go down in a single hit, but fire really fast. So, a lot of defensive work going on there. And there's a whole line of enemies that go down in a single hit, and I think what happens is if they get too close, they grab onto your ship, but otherwise they do nothing. Here I do an okay job dodging posts. Okay, not a bad job dodging posts. But I end up with a decent amount of health, thanks to all the upgrades I've gotten. You notice I haven't picked up any lock-on increase items yet. Yeah, there's only one in this skid stage, so it's actually a little harder than some of the other ones. You'll pick up the, oh, my mistake, I must have picked up the one already. But yeah, there's only one in this skid stage. So, line of basic enemies again. After they're all gone, another health pickup, and now William will show up. He shows up a little earlier than his backup shows up this time. William never really shows up by himself. He's always got something helping him out, which just, of course, gives him more time to hit you with various lasers and slow you down a little more. But despite not having the maximum number of lock-ons, I do take him down fairly quick. I think he goes down in the next cycle here. Yep. No, wait. No, he's got one more. There we go. See the black smoke come out of it. So, there we go. Now we're off to the mountain replica. Maybe XANA finally figured out that we actually know what we're doing this time.
Off we go to the mountain replica. It would be smarter if you separate there. Yumi and Aelita, stay close to the skid to secure it. Meanwhile, Odd and Ulrich will destroy the replica's supercomputer.
So the girls are on guard duty, and Odd and Ulrich are going to go to the real world. I suppose that could be a pragmatic action on Jeremie's part. Who knows what kind of strange problems could occur if you try to transport someone from the virtual world to the real world without a terminal such as a scanner, especially if you're trying to get them to keep their powers. Maybe he's just willing to sacrifice Odd and Ulrich to make sure the program works.
You can count on us.
Well, in any case, here I try to block a bunch of things, but fail to realize that there's actually an ice block in the back. So, yeah, I'm pretty much forced to use Yumi here for this entire sequence. Luckily, she's got 6 lock-ons at this point. And I try to use her ability to actually lock onto multiple enemies, but that's always kind of difficult to do. It's probably a lot easier on the Wii, considering the fact that you just pointed at an enemy while holding down the lock-on button. But here it's a little more complicated. Or less complicated, but also less reliable. So yeah, I spent a lot of time killing the enemies here, and I did not remember while recording this footage that I actually don't have to kill things here. I can just run straight through. You see, when you go through this little doorway gate thing, then the gate closes behind you, and you have to run around and reach the start of the area again. Luckily, the enemy stops firing after a little while, which is good, because getting hit while doing jumping puzzles like this is pretty annoying. The platform to your right requires Odd to complete. The platform ahead of you requires Flight to get the goodie there, and then there's the actual way off. Jumping off that platform, the moving platform early, is probably pretty common there, because there's no real external indicator of what you need to jump off on. So here is one I was mentioning before, where in a minute we'll have kamikazes, but it's on this really tiny platform, so I just decided to run for it and take a bunch of hits, but just kind of dodge around and get them to blow themselves up. You don't get any points from them when that happens, but it does get rid of them, so that works. And there I try to jump up and grab the item, but you actually need to use Yumi's balancing ability to walk across the little tightrope beam thing that curves all the way around there. Yeah, it's not that important though. So here we have 2 types of kamikazes, standard tarantulas, and William all at once. Oh, and the ice blocks, because I think there was a button I was supposed to hit to turn those off, and I didn't. But here I just take out William, which, as we remember from earlier, actually just ends the sequence this time instead of causing all the enemies to blow up. So, no bonus points, I guess, but hey, whatever. Meanwhile, in the real world, happening at the same time as that last little sequence. Gee, I wonder what that giant core thing could be.
Jeremie, there's a force field stopping us. I noticed.
Okay.
We'll have to go around it to get back to the skid.
This is really, honestly, the part of the game that is good. The actual boss fights show that the people that were designing the game are not idiots. They actually do have some semblance of good game design logic. A lot of the it's like not all the boss fights are all that great. This one is okay. But there's a couple of them later on that I will point to specifically that honestly are pretty interestingly designed, including what amounts to the hardest of these boss fights in the game, realistically, and it's not the last one, I might add. But of course there's also the aspect that as you switch between characters, Odd does less damage but can hit enemies pretty much all the time during the fights when he's a default available character, which is 4 out of the 5. Ulrich is very rarely able to hit the enemies, but he does the most damage, and in a certain fight he's pretty much required to complete it effectively. If you do not have Odd, which you will only not have Odd for one mission, Yumi is your better character, and in one of the boss fights where you do have Odd, Yumi is still a better character. But here, technically, I could have stayed as Odd the whole time, I just decided to play around with it. And you see the little circle come up there for his power. Yes, Odd can actually use his time control ability in boss fights to slow down enemies, but it only really works in boss fights when there are extra enemies. Adds is what they call them in MMO terms. Effectively, little bonus enemies the boss spawns to try and kill you. So this boss wasn't all that impressive, but the bosses are pretty easily one of the more replayable things in the game. Especially because when you replay them, you actually get to use everybody.
The supercomputer brings on the total destruction of the replica. Odd and Ulrich succeeded together.
There we go.
I really would have liked to see that.
One down. Well, that's about the end of the video, so I will see you all next time, and thank you very much for watching.
It shouldn't take long. Unfortunately, William has slipped through our fingers again.